Welcome to Season 2 of the Erotic Realm podcast, where we explore the world of eroticism, one erotic realm at a time. I'm Em, a sexologist and kinkster. The mission of the Erotic Realm is to humanize desire in all of its forms, including darker desires. Each episode, we dive deep into the psychology of desire with a sexpert, everyday kinkster, or a kink expert. This is an independent podcast. To support it, please consider becoming a paid subscriber at psychologyofdesire.com, where you'll also find deep dives into desire and surveys that you can participate in. You can also sign up there to get the podcast delivered directly to your inbox when it's released. And now for today's episode. Before we get started, I have something very excited to announce. The podcast has been nominated for the Australian Adult Industry Awards in the category of Best Podcast. So if you'd love to vote for the Erotic Realm to win this category, it would be amazing to have your support. I'll put a link to the voting website in the show notes, and I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a click and a vote, and who knows, maybe it will win Best Podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. If you'd like to support the podcast, please consider checking out the brands that support the Erotic Realm. There's Firm Tech, whose tech ring offers fascinating insights into sexual health by tracking erection quality and nocturnal function. Splash Blanket, who create luxurious waterproof blankets designed for comfort, intimacy, and real-life messes. ProDX Health, who offer discreet, at-home STI testing. While Karoo and Lovents make premium pleasure technology, from couple toys to long-distance interactive devices. Then there's Lioness, who are doing something truly unique in sex tech, using biofeedback and orgasm data to help people better understand their arousal. I'm also partnering with Flow and Desire, science-backed libido support supplements designed to support sexual vitality and well-being. These are brands that I find genuinely interesting, science-backed, and I've used them myself, so they come with my recommendation. You can find the links to all of them in the episode description. If you try them, use the links below. It supports the show at no extra cost to you. And now, back to today's conversation. The following conversation explores a question that challenges one of the most persistent myths about submission. What if it isn't passive, but playful, intentional, and deeply psychological? Today, my guest is Jade, a bratty submissive whose life outside kink doesn't read submissive at all, yet who actively chooses surrender within the right dynamics. Together, we explore the psychology of brat energy, the contrast between identity and expression, and what it means to hold power through play rather than give it away. We also dive into the differences between kink and swinging, the complexity of navigating both a husband and a dominant, and why many people may already be engaging in BDSM without even realizing it. At the core of this conversation, we ask, what if submission isn't weakness, but one of the most self-aware choices a person can make? Enjoy. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Erotic Realm. Today I'm delighted to be exploring the erotic realm of Jade. Welcome, Jade.
Hi there, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. So let's start with you as a person. We like to get an idea of who you are outside of kink before we jump into the juicy stuff. So what are you getting up to in your day-to-day life currently?
Oh, I get up to a lot.
Okay, cool.
I've recently become a collector of hobbies almost in the past few years. So I'm a long-term equestrian. I ride horses, used to own, but now I ride a horse for somebody else. I'm a pole fitness enthusiast / pole dancer. I ride motorbikes. I do kickboxing. I walk the dog. Like there's a lot that goes on in my sort of fun life. But in the more professional realm, I am a cybersecurity engineer. So a bit of a weird mismatch of hobbies.
Amazing. I love it. You must be super fit. Wow.
Yeah, it means I can eat what I want. I can go out and buy a slice of cake and I don't have to panic too much about it.
I love it. Okay, so let's get into the juicy stuff. When you talk about your eroticism and how you identify in terms of your sexuality and your kink, what labels do you apply to yourself?
So I am through and through a submissive. I am bisexual, but not biromantic. I like to clarify that as biromantic is a term that I've recently become more familiar with, and for myself, where I am attracted to women and I do play with women, both with and without the husband, I have never seen myself or imagined myself as dating other women. So
Right.
for me, bisexual but not biromantic fits really well. We're, so, I guess you could say we're an open relationship. My husband's amazing. We started off sort of exploring kink together, just behind bedroom walls and things, and slowly chipped away. And now we're kind of out and about a bit more, going to clubs and parties together or separately, and just yeah, having a grand old time.
Okay, fun. So you and your husband discovered kink together within the relationship. You didn't enter it as kinky people.
So I entered it as a kinky person, but as with all like new relationships, you kind of tiptoe into it a bit because you want
Hmm.
to suss it out. You don't want to scare anybody off. So I was kinky before dating him, and as we sort of got more comfortable as the relationship matured and progressed, the kinks have just been coming out more and more and more from both sides. And there's still new kinks being discovered now. And we've been together for 6 years, married for nearly one. So yeah, we're still always evolving and finding new things that tickle our fancies, so to speak.
There's always more to discover. So, what would you say are your top three kinks at the moment?
Oh, top three kinks. Ooh. So I'm really into impact at the moment. Um, more the dom that I have, he's very much into caning. So that's a new thing I've been discovering with him. So caning at the moment is pretty up there. I've also been getting into wearing gimp masks. That's
Hmm.
quite good. It gives a bit of sensory deprivation because I can't see, I can't really hear as well either. Um, so that's always fun. And then a bit of shibari. I've never had a chance to fully explore shibari. I've always seen it from afar and always thought it was incredibly beautiful. Just the harnesses and the knotwork that you see, suspension aside, because that's also incredible. But just little ties that people do, like gauntlets they make out of rope. I just think it's really, really creative. And yeah, so just started exploring that a little bit more.
Amazing. So, you mentioned that you went into your marriage already kinky. Can you share a little bit about how you yourself discovered the world of kink and what kind of experience you'd had before your marriage?
So I started exploring the world of kink by myself when I was sort of mid to late teens, when the world of the internet starts opening up for you and you start realizing what your sexual organs are for. So it started off with me reading erotica, and there was a weird app that I don't know how I found it. It was in the depths of the internet,
Mm.
and it had a load of erotica and that was pulled from various corners of the internet. And they were maybe 500 words long, something like that. So they were only short stories. They weren't big um, long series or anything like that. And some of the topics in those really excited me when I was younger and got my imagination going. And I was like, oh, I quite like the dynamics that I'm reading in this. I kind of want to explore it a bit more. And it led to, um, as I got older, if anybody remembers Omegle,
Oh,
we've all
yeah.
got the same trauma. We've all
Hmm.
got the same trauma of Omegle. Um, I was in the chat room of Omegle and got bored one afternoon and just thought, oh, let's put um, in one of my interests, just put, kink or BDSM or something like that. and I put it in and started talking to somebody. Funny enough, we hit it off, and he actually became my first boyfriend.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
first like serious boyfriend. It wasn't a good relationship, but that's, besides the point. But through him and through these kind of weird corners of the internet is how I started finding where and what kink was for me and where I wanted to position myself within it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what about kink events? When did you first discover the world of kink events, and what was that like for you?
So when you're younger, you always hear of like, oh yeah, and there's swinger events, and you always think they're all a bit slimy, or there's kink events, and there's people, getting beaten and bludgeoned, and this, that, and the other, because your sort of normative view is so skewed by the actual reality. And obviously, movies, TV shows, and films kind of paint kink and anything that's not vanilla sex as really far, like really alternative, almost unpoliced and strange. So I had fantasies of going to clubs when I was younger, but I never knew how to find them. I mean, if only I realized what Google was. But it was actually somebody in my pole class, and they went to an event called Torture Garden, and they were telling us about it and saying, "Oh yeah, I went there with the fiance, and it was really good. Like everybody dressed up really well. They had, a dance room, they had a dungeon, they had performers, um, and then at the end of the story, she said, "Oh yeah, by the time he came a few times, he was really tired, so we went home." And I was like, "A few times in one night?" I was like, "Where is this magical place?" Um, and so when she told me, I was straight away like, go home. Told my fiance, well, at the time he was my fiance, about it, and said, "Yeah, like just nonchalantly, one of these girls at pole, she told us a story about this amazing magical club with unicorns and rainbows and whips and chains, and it sounds really fun, really interesting." And I remember I was in the shower talking to him about it, and he was like, "So what was the name of the club?" I was like, "Oh, it's Torture Garden." And lo and behold, Googled it, sat on the idea for about a month or two, and then while we were on holiday with friends, we just decided, you know what, let's actually book it, give it a go, get some outfits together, and see what happens. And we went there the first time, and it was just such a mind blowing experience to see everybody just so open and happy and loving, and to see all the various kinks and fetishes just casually walking amongst us. And I had never felt safer wearing less clothing than I did at, that first kink event where
Mm.
like it was just so nice. I could walk butt naked through that kink event and not think twice. But then, if I wear a skirt that's slightly too short on the street, I'd probably be a bit cautious about, a creepy old man sat on a park bench catcalling at me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's so Torture Garden was it. It was first one we went to, and we keep going back. We collect the little at each event they have custom art of their sort of dungeon rules and club etiquette, and it's a different sort of fetish model on each one. So we've got about 5 or 6 of these little cards that we are collecting over time.
Wow. Because Torture Garden's once a year, right?
No, they do it
Ah.
monthly. Yeah, they do it
Okay.
monthly.
Mm-hmm. And
So in
yeah, it's one of the bigger kink events, isn't it? In London?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's huge, and I think they're even doing some events up in Edinburgh as well now, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
Manchester. So they're starting to spread out more in England, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an idea of about how many people go to a Torture Garden event, just so people can get an idea of it in their mind?
Oh, it's got to be a couple hundred,
Mm-hmm.
probably 300 plus,
Mm-hmm.
and it's packed. Like they some of their big events, so New Year's, Christmas, and Valentine's on the ones that they will sell out on, and it is absolutely packed. There's people everywhere, but it's such a good vibe. Like honestly,
Mm-hmm.
it's so good.
It sounds amazing. Hopefully, I'll get there one day.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about your submission a bit more, because you mentioned that in your day-to-day life, you don't come across as submissive at all. Can you
No.
describe that contrast between those two different sides of you?
So it's something that I've done a bit of reflecting on just from going through therapy, but not, kink or fetish therapy years ago. And obviously, a bit of hindsight being 2020.
Mhm.
Um, when I was younger, my sister is undiagnosed autistic, high functioning, but undiagnosed autistic. So she was a bit unregulated with certain things when growing up, which meant that my parents had to put a bit more energy into her than they did me, even though I was the younger sibling. So it meant that as I was growing up, sort of around 10 plus years old, I had to step up a little bit. Especially because my sister started struggling with her mental health, with depression and anxiety, and having to get pulled out of school early as a result of it. Um, so I had to grow up and kind of parent myself a little bit and remember things and remember to do my homework and talking to my parents and saying, "Oh, I need help with X, Y, and Z," and my parents would be like, "No, we need to help your sister at this moment in time because she's struggling."
Mm.
Um, so I had to grow up fairly quick and become self-reliant. In outside of that, now that I'm older, even though the job role I have isn't senior, it is fairly obviously professional, and I do have to take responsibility for work and things. And then my previous role, I was leading a team of about 3 or 4 engineers, and having to get something out the door and delivered for a customer, which thankfully the project is still running today because I keep tabs on it. Um, but I've had to step up and take ownership a lot. In the household with the husband, when we were purchasing the house, I was very much the house admin. So I would speak to, the real estate agent, the solicitors, and get all the documentation for that. So I try and organize things and print things off and basically be in the house admin where I can. So for me, when I'm in subspace and submitting and my brain goes completely blank and empty, and it's the most amazing feeling, just not having anything in your head for once. I can actually shut off and hand all the responsibility off to somebody else and just offload it, and it's like a stress relief almost. It gives me a chance to actually clock out and not think about 101 things that I need to remember and do by, a certain time or a certain date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to ask that about you. My next question was about whether or not you feel like your submission is an escape from responsibility or an expression of a different part of you. And it sounds like you're saying it's more of an escape. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's definitely an escape. Like I said, it gives me time just to shut down almost.
Mm-hmm.
I think the longest I've been in subspace after a really good scene was about 2 hours. Um,
Mm.
and that was a very long subspace. And I remember because I had to drive back from the dominant's house afterwards, he was there trying to ask me like serious questions, like, "Come on, come back to the real world, Jade. Like, you need to go behind the wheel of a car soon." Like, and he just looked at me, and I was just completely out of it, just blissful, dumb head. Um, but yeah, it's definitely an escape. It almost is like a reset for my brain. It's like
Mm.
my brain can actually take a sigh of relief for once. That it doesn't have to think or control anything because somebody else is doing 110% of the effort.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, I have to ask if you're happy to share a little bit about the session with this dominant that allowed you to experience subspace for 2 hours. Can you give us a little
Yeah,
bit of information?
yeah. He's gonna absolutely love this because he's an exhibitionist. So
Cool.
shout out to him. He's gonna adore this. um. So yeah, it was. Um. I try, so the scene itself started. He had like a little futon that he can fold out to kind of make a very small double bed. And what he had done is on each corner of this bed, he had tied rope. that he could make into handcuffs or ankle cuffs. So he had me strip off, and I was in a little pink latex bra, a hot pink like micro skirt. It was so short, that skirt, it was more of a belt than anything. And a tiny little thong. Um, he had me strip off into that and lie face down on the bed with my hands sort of spread eagle at the top, my legs spread eagle, and he put my gimp mask on, and I didn't have a gag because I remember I was biting the sheets a lot. Um, but it was just a very heavy caning impact scene. Um, there's a photo on my profile. You'll see it. It's his hand and like my hot pink thong with like tiger stripes from the caning afterwards, and it was very heavy impact for me at least. It's taken me a while to get used to the different sensation of caning because it's more stingy than it is fuddy. And I've previously been a girl that's only really used floggers occasionally, and I've been more of a paddle and a spanking sub.
Mm-hmm.
So um, yeah, it was a whole new sensation because we've been working up to building the intensity and how long I can take it for. Um, and so it was actually I nearly cried during the scene as well. I got to a point where I wasn't ready to call Amber or Red. I was still, really enjoying it. The pain was okay, but there was one of the hits he did that made tears come to my eye, and I
Mm.
sort of stifled a sob, and I was like, I'm not going to cry. Like, I don't want to cry. I don't need to cry. So I managed to hold it back in, but he obviously heard, and he was like, if you want to cry, cry. Like, I'll enjoy you crying on it so long as it's still green. So I kind of was a big girl, sucked it back in, and was like, "No, I'm not giving him my tears."
Right.
And the scene went on for a bit longer, and eventually I did call Amber. And the second I called Amber, all impact play stopped. He came over, checked I was okay, asked if I wanted to be untied or anything like that. I was still just hovering on the outskirts of subspace, so I could say, like, I could shake my head and say, like, no, don't untie me. I'm happy where I am. It's just the impact needs to stop. Um, so we finished the scene with him fucking me relentlessly, and then after he finished and I finished several times, he did untie me and sort of let me move on my own accord. He didn't force me to sit up or anything like that. He let me kind of get my limbs back moving, get my brain back in the room somewhat. So that I sat up, I could wrap a blanket around me, and then he always preps like a charcuterie board as well for our meats.
Aw.
It's lush. So
Mm-hmm.
he had a little charcuterie board prepared, and because he knows that I don't drink any hot drinks, he had a little glass of like fresh orange juice as well for me. Because yeah, just a really thoughtful guy.
Yeah.
So I think he started bringing me out of subspace and bringing me down from the scene with feeding me little bits of grape and salami. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Mm.
it was a very nice, very good scene, and one I do look back on really fondly.
Yeah, I can hear the smile in your voice. I love to hear it.
Yeah.
So, for those that might be a bit confused, you are married and you also have a dominant, which you're speaking about now. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
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 So when I first started dating the husband, he was dominant, and I was very submissive. As our relationship has gone on and we've explored opening it up a little bit, especially in the rounds of kink, his switch side has come out more. So now I would say, if I had to put a pencil on it without obviously asking him for what he would label himself as, because he always just says, "Oh, I'm just me. Like I don't put a label on myself." But to help the listeners out, I would say he's probably a sub-leaning switch. He can dom, but he really gets off on the submissive side of seeing me with another person. He does get involved in some of the scenes, but we have an agreement where if I go and see my dominant, and then photos and videos are taken and sent sort of immediately afterwards so that he can see what's going on. And then when I get back from seeing the dominant, then we have lovely sort of reconnection, kinky sex with each other.
Beautiful. Aren't you lucky?
Yes, very, very lucky. I've got, honestly, the husband's just absolutely amazing. He's really allowed me to explore my kinks. As yeah, I'm a lot of my kinks. He's into, and he can scratch the itch, but sometimes it's also nice to get another person to come in and just you don't know them as well as you do with the husband, so I can push back against the husband a lot more than I can um in the dominant, just because it's different comfort levels, it's different levels of intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if far left field, if the dominant turned around to me mid-scene and said, okay, I want you to dom me, I would be like, not a chance in hell,
Mm-hmm.
not a chance of you doing that. But with the husband, if he said, okay, now I want to be tied up, it'd be like, okay. Or like, say something humiliating to me, and then they'll be like, okay, I can do that for you. But with the husband, whereas some people say, oh, you're dominating him, you're being a dom, in my brain, well, yes, I am being a dom at that moment. I am more of I justify it in my head as being a service sub. I'm giving him a service, and I enjoy him getting pleasure from it, and that's what gives me pleasure and gives me enjoyment, is by seeing him kind of roll his eyes into the back of his head like he's seeing Jesus come down from the clouds type of thing. That's what that's what gets me off.
Well, it sounds like you're all very happy with the arrangement. What has been your biggest learning from having both of these men in your life?
So it's definitely communication.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard, and I do sometimes still get it wrong. I will hold my hand up. Like, there are times where I go too far one way and not, reciprocating to the other. So it is just a lot of communication. But we've got to help with that. We've actually got a little contract
Oh.
that I wrote. It's not legally binding or anything like that, but it just helps keep the communication open. It lists boundaries, like all the way down to names that I like being called during the scene, my schedule, how to arrange meets and things like that. It just helps the communication a lot. And also, just to keep it open and super easy, we just have a group chat. So it means that anything I send, the husband can see, the dom can see, and I don't have to sort of do a he said, she said, because it's all there in plain text, which helps a lot.
Yes, communication seems to be the core of any healthy relationship. You hear it again and again from successful relationships. Communicate more and more.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to bring in a quote here that explores another way of seeing submission. And today's quote is from Elizabeth Gilbert, who is an American journalist and author, most well known for her memoir, Eat, Pray, Love. And she says, to be fully seen by somebody and be loved anyhow, this is a human offering that can border on miraculous. And it feels especially relevant when we think about kink, because at its core, kink often requires us to be seen fully, not just physically, but psychologically. So when you hear this quote, does it resonate with you and your submission? Does your submission feel like a space where you can be more fully seen?
Yeah, it 100% resonates with me. I could feel my eyes welling up a little bit.
Oh,
So
really?
I'm a huge empath. So I've just had to pull that back in. But yeah, it completely resonates with me because I'm so lucky that I can have these experiences, and it's thanks to the husband for allowing me to have these experiences and to be so open in my sexuality, and also knowing that he enjoys it, and he's not just letting me do it because he thinks that if I don't do this, I'm going to run away. But he's allowing me to do it because he knows I enjoy it and he enjoys it. And yeah, just being able to be so open with what I'm into, who I'm into, and how it presents itself with him,
Mm,
and him to say, okay, and how can we facilitate that, is so incredible. It
mm,
really is.
mm. And is that something that you've always had in your relationship on some level, or is it something that you've had to work towards?
So I think it's something we've had to work towards a little bit. Um, just as part of, any baby relationship, when it first starts, you always crawl your way in and slowly open up as you feel more and more secure. I think now that we're married, the kinks are coming out sort of left, right, and center a bit
Mhm.
more. So we've tried a lot of like new kinks and fetishes that weren't even on my radar, I'd say, 2, 3 years ago, and they've all come out of the woodwork, and the things that I really enjoy. For example, one of the um, things that we've sort of worked on is the husband does enjoy to be pegged. And for myself, when we first started dating and that topic first got raised, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know if this is something I'm into. I don't know if I can do that for you, or if I can give that to you. But we kind of slowly took the baby steps towards it. And lo and behold, now, like, I really enjoy giving that to him. So yeah, it's nice being open and having the comfort to be so open that you can approach each other with, these new kinks or fetishes that you want to explore, and for them to be responded not with disgust or hesitation, but
Mm.
with curiosity.
Yeah, curiosity is so important. Mm. So, do you think that kink allows a kind of honesty or visibility that people don't always experience in vanilla relationships?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got to be honest and vulnerable when you're doing kink, because if you're not honest, then things can go wrong.
Mm.
And whether that honesty is with what you're into, or what your boundaries are, or, whether you're enjoying something or not, if you lie at any point, it could go wrong. And then you're going to look back on the experience badly. And, may not try it again with somebody who's actually a safe practitioner. Um, but even then, at at parties, I've spoken to some of my girly mates, and they've said, "Oh, like, I'm not kinky. I'm not kinky." And I was like, "Okay, question for you: have you ever been spanked when you've been like had sex?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we've done that." I'm like, "Okay, that's a bit of kink. Like that's a little spice on your vanilla that you think you have." And you can see the sort of penny drop in their mind when they're like, "Oh, like I have something there." And I love holding that mirror up to people as well.
Mm. So, what do you think that reveals about how people misunderstand kink? The fact that there can be people that are engaging in these kinky like practices and yet thinking that they're vanilla.
Yeah, I think if you think of kink, the first image that comes to mind is black, leather, latex, PVC, dressed up to the nines, probably heavily tattooed, rips, chains, dark, seedy dungeons and alleyways. And, I don't know whether when people think of kink, whether they think of the softer kink, like 50 Shades of Grey type of level of soft kink. Um, but yeah, I think I think it's just a bit of societal norms and people not having the right exposure to it.
Mm.
Because I think TV's shows and movies, they always like to show the extremes of things because they want to get a reaction from the audience.
Right.
And what better way to get a reaction than when you think of kink and fetish, than to see somebody strung up on a St. Andrew's cross with red ass cheeks getting the living shit beaten out of them.
Mhm.
um, and that can be really intimidating and really in your face for some people, but you know, the fluffy handcuffs you can get at Ann Summers, the little ticklers, the little soft floggers and things like that you can get at Ann Summers and at these, like really basic sex shops. They're people's entryway to kink, and they're not as intimidating as what they see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think reality versus what is shown is when there's a huge disjoint with kink and fetishism.
Yeah, very well said. There's a whole spectrum of kink from very light to, very heavy and dark. And I think you're so right. People normally focus on the heavy and dark in media because it does evoke the strongest reactions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Now, you've had experience in both kink and swinging scenes. How would you
Yes.
describe the psychological difference between them or the different types of people that go to them?
So, from our experience with the swing scene, the swingers seem to be party animals. They are absolute party animals. They will go from about 5 p.m. until 5 a.m. They are incredible human beings for that. I don't know how their bodies stand up to it because it gets to about 9:30 at night for me and I'm ready for bed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, they're really lovely people. Swingers are very, very open. They are very direct with what they're into, who they're attracted to, and they do still, like kinksters, state their boundaries. So we're friends with a few couples where the husband is allowed to play with other women, but the woman won't play with other men. She'll only play with her husband or other women. So it's interesting to find out those dynamics, but people are very, once they know the dynamic, they respect it, similar to kinksters. But if you go to a swing club, there's a lot of socializing. People are happy to mix around in their groups, and are a lot more open to making new friends. It could just be the clubs that we go to for kink, but I think it's more the nature of kink that means there's some slight differences. And I always try and warn swingers when they are like, "Oh yeah, we're kinky. We're going to go to our first kink club." I'm like, "Okay, don't go into it thinking it's a swing club, because otherwise you're going to be really disappointed." Um, so I always, when we've been to kink clubs, we can sometimes find another couple to play with, but when we say play, we're not in the dungeon doing impact play or a scene with them type of thing. We're just
Mm.
in the couple's room and we have, a little bit of a swap, a little, fool around type of thing. And I think the reason why I warn swingers from lowering their expectations for play when they go to a kink club for the first time is because of the nature of kink and the risks and the boundaries and the level of communication involved. You would really, really, really struggle to find somebody to play with that will allow you to do an impact scene on them on night one of meeting them, just because the communication and the boundaries are not established and may not be communicated clearly enough. It requires a lot of trust as well.
Mm.
So when we've been to kink clubs, we, often find a couple to play with in a couple's room, but we have very, very rarely to almost never swapped with another couple for the first time in a dungeon, just because of the nature of what kink is and the risks and wanting to keep everybody involved safe.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. And do you feel like you show up as a different person, like a different version of yourself to the two different spaces when you're going swinging and when you're going to a kink event?
I think to some aspect, yes. I do keep when I go to a swing club, I'm not walking around in a gimp mask. I'm not I may have a collar on sometimes, but I'm not, handcuffed, gagged, masked, tied up in a corner type of thing. Um with my ass cheeks like flayed from a caning. Um so I do kind of quieten it down because I I'm also keen not to force my kink onto somebody else. So if somebody doesn't want to see it, then I make sure I'm in the right environment where it is kind of generally accepted that that may be something you see. And at swing clubs, you don't often see very kinky scenes going on. You'll see a little bit of spanking and maybe somebody playfully tied up on a St. Andrew's cross if the venue has one, but it's nothing to the level of what you would see on a regular kink night.
Yep. And do you have a preference for either type of event, or does it depend on how you're feeling?
I think it depends on how we're feeling. I mean, we've been to swing clubs a lot more recently, but in February we've befriended a couple that are local to us, who we play with in the swing scene on occasion. And we actually took them to Torture Garden for the first time after talking about it. And they're very open and very like up for trying anything at least once. They're really nice. And we took them to Torture Garden. We're like, okay, this is what you're going to see. Like, just just a little bit of a content warning, just in case it was nothing they had experienced before, either through media or in reality. And they absolutely loved it. They took to it like ducks in water, and they were so they want to go back. So now we're trying to arrange a date to go back to Torture Garden with them again.
Love it.
Yeah, it's just lush. When you find your people, you find your people.
So let's talk more about your eroticism and what's influenced it. So as part of our conversation today, I asked you to bring along something to share, such as a quote, book, or a movie that's influenced your erotic realm. What did you bring along today, and how did it influence it?
So I'm going to be a bit of a basic bitch.
That's fine.
And one of the big things that influenced kink for me was, funny enough, I mentioned it already in this podcast, it was 50 Shades of Grey, and I'm going to hang my head in shame and hold my hands up, and you can smite me down for it. But I think I was about 14, 15 years old when those books came out, and they started getting, really popular. So I obviously heard from people about some of the content in the book and what it was around, and I was like, oh, this actually sounds interesting. Let's just give it a go, give it a read. And yeah, I absolutely fell in love with the books. I know now, and they are poorly written, they are not representative of kink, but 50 Shades of Grey was a gateway drug to kink for me.
Yep.
And it was just the whole scene of it. I at the time was that innocent girl going out into the world. So the thought of somebody higher up being so dashingly handsome and in control of everything and powerful and wanting me was, it was a big fantasy. And 50 Shades of Grey helped feed into that and expose me to kink a bit more. And from there I was like, okay, this has given me a taste of it. What else is out there? And away I went doing, more of a discovery myself of reading the other novels in the trilogy and watching the comedically bad movies that came out of it afterwards. And yeah, just exploring the depths of the internet for what was around. And yeah, I think I joined when I first had a FetLife account. I think I was 18 and joined and signed up. Yeah, very, very young. And I've got memories of that first account from, when I was discovering kink more and more. And I remember somebody was like, you can't be a real person. Like, there's not 18-year-olds that are on FetLife that are posting photos of themselves but staying anonymous. Like, they're normally porn stars sort of thing. And he actually made me take a photo staying anonymous, and he wanted me to flip off the camera, so put my middle finger up, but lick my middle finger and hold my boob at the same time to basically prove that I wasn't getting these photos from Google Images or, Pornhub or something like that, to prove that I was a real person behind the account. And I remember doing that and him being like, I genuinely thought you weren't real, but now, it's proved that you are. But yeah, at that time, I was just kind of exploring a bit more of the exhibitionism side of things, and didn't really have kink in the real world. I was seeing all these people's stories about events and scenes they've been in and the photos, and that was sort of what was feeding into my exploration or my future exploration into kink.
Well, I don't think you're the only one who had 50 Shades of Grey as an awakening. I think there were perhaps millions of people around the
Yes.
world. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's chat about brattiness, because you also describe yourself as having a bratty side. Can you take us into the psychology of your brat?
Yeah, so for me, something I've noticed is my bratty side tends to only come out once I've got a good level of comfort with whoever I'm with. So in the first few, scenes or meets or whatever, I'm not going to be very bratty. I will be your perfect little submissive, just because my mental state default goes to pleasing this person and don't challenge them, please them, keep them engaged type of thing. As I get more comfortable, the brat comes out, and I don't really know what triggers the brat. Sometimes I just wake up in the morning and decide to be a menace. Other times it can be after the scene and after I come out of subspace, I'm like, okay, let's cause some chaos. Um, I mean, the last scene I had with the Dom, I was fairly bratty from start to finish. And I mean, he's fairly tall. He's like 6 foot something, and I'm only 5'2", so I'm quite short. But I'm short and strong. I'm like a dwarf. So um, I I think I was just like throwing my weight around, and I always try to sort of like beat him up. Like I'll throw some kickboxing in. I'll try and round kick him, not to hurt him, but just to annoy. It's kind of like poking the bear
Yeah.
a bit. So it's like, okay, let's annoy this person. I can pick him up as well, which is hilarious to me. So I think there was one time where I think he was trying to um put ankle cuffs on me or something like that. But the way he was doing it is I was on all fours with my head kind of off one side of the bed, and he was leaning over me with his crotch in my face. So he was leaning straight over my back to where my feet were. And in my head, I just thought, I reckon I can pick him up from here. And sure enough, I just kind of pushed into his torso and lifted him off the ground, and that was hilarious to me. But it's just enough to poke the bear to get him to deal with what I call punishment.
Mm.
So it's punishment, but for me, it's fun
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to get it.
Yeah.
And also, it's a grand old time before, during, and after. So, yeah, my back comes out like that. Or after I come down from subspace, if I'm still, you know, ready to go, because I'm very fortunate that I can have multiple orgasms during, a scene and during sex. So if I'm still a bit like, I could go again, and he, like, my husband or the partner, whoever I'm with, is trying to chill and go to sleep, I'm like, I'm gonna be a little menace to get what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So it can come out like that as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. It sounds like so much fun.
Yes, gotta keep them on their toes.
100%. Okay, so you already told us about that really amazing subspace that you had for 2 hours. Near the end of the podcast, I normally ask someone to share a peak erotic experience that they've had. So I'm wondering if you have another one that you would be wanting to share from all of your explorations.
Yeah. So in the past sort of 6 months to a year, I'd say, the husband has started exploring his bi side a bit, which has been really interesting. It's been a thought experiment for me when it first started to get raised, of, you know, just getting my head around it a bit, and understanding what that meant for us as a relationship, because it it's kind of a given when you're in the swing scene that every woman is bisexual in some way, shape, or form. It's
Mm.
just a given. So to find by men is really rare, especially to find openly by men. So we've been sort of exploring that, and one of the most recent explorations involved the husband and the dom, and we were it was kind of a bi MMF a bit with a dash of cuck on the side, I would say. So as I mentioned earlier, I would put the husband under the sort of sub-leaning switch label. And when we had the dom over from this scene, he actually handcuffed the husband to the radiator in the bedroom where we were, and let him watch, and let him sort of like take photos and film and things like that. But one of the challenges in that scene was the dom put my GIMP mask on, and he made me put the cock cage on the husband while completely blindfolded. And that was, for me, that was horrifying. The husband, I think he could see, but he wasn't allowed to touch or help. And I was so scared of not pinching any skin when, putting this cage on and making sure the lock was done. And I was obviously worried about not hurting the husband, but the dom had a 60-second timer going on, so I was like, oh god, I've got to do it quick, otherwise something's coming. So I did eventually manage to get it on, and the scene was really good. It was it was actually a sort of idea from the dom. He's quite into fucklick. I don't know if you've heard of that sort of kink or fetish.
No, I don't think I have. Tell us.
So fucklick, I'm not too exposed to it. I've just seen photos and we've kind of done it, so I don't know if my description is going to be the best. But it's when a man is fucking somebody else, and this could be another man, it could be a woman, and somebody else, either a man or woman, is licking the fucker's cock while he's fucking somebody else. So so the guy in the middle, man one is fucking somebody, and person two is licking man one's cock while man one's fucking. So so we had a bit of that going on as well during the scene, with the husband participating, and we've practiced, like we're getting more and more open with his bisexuality, and the dom doesn't describe himself as bi. He puts himself down as queer because he wouldn't fuck a guy or want to be fucked by a guy or anything like that, but he happily receives like a blowjob from the husband type of thing. So it's a very interesting dynamic we have when all three of us get in the scene, because a dom essentially gets two submissives, but one of the submissives is a cuck during the scene. So it's interesting to see the power dynamics and to be involved in it. But yeah, I think that most recent fucklick scene was really good for everyone involved. It was just great fun. It was one of those things where it just kind of flowed naturally. And yeah, the communication was really good. We were open, we would check in with each other, sort of, we would just give each other a look, just to be like, you okay? Like, you're still good with this, you're still into it? And yeah, like I would say exploring more things like that is definitely on the radar for this year.
Yeah, it's wonderful when things flow naturally and just feel comfortable for everyone, and yet you're being so debaucherous at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, I know. There are so many people in my family that would be rolling in their graves. Like, not just the fact that, I'm bisexual, but that the marriage is open, the husband is bi-curious, the dom's an immigrant. Like, there's so many layers to basically flipping off the world with what we do, and that's great. It's just amazing.
We love rebels around here.
Yes.
So you mentioned you want more of that in the future. Is there anything else that you're looking forward to? Any other erotic goals that you have?
I don't think we've got any that are sort of on paper written down. I think it's just constant evolution, just trying to not push boundaries, but edge closer to broadening them, questioning why the boundaries are in place in the first place as well. Um, so yeah, it's just exploring our horizons, staying curious and staying open, and yeah, having just more fun, kinky scenes with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
Yes.
So, for someone that's listening who might feel drawn to submission and perhaps feels like they have a similar type of submission to you, but yet they're a little bit scared about where to start, what would you say to them?
Oh, good question. What would I say? I would say please be careful of the fake dominance that you see online.
Mm-hmm.
I scream into the void about this a lot. Especially as a side note, I sell like undies and things online, and on the website now I sell these items of clothing on. There's a lot of women on that site because it's very biased towards women that claim to be dominant, and they do not know the first thing about consent. They do not know the first thing about communication, um, and it's quite scary, really, because you see a lot of the men that come onto that site are very submissive, and they get they get bitten by these doms because they think they. It's a shame, but they think with their dicks because they're horny and they want the release, and the dominants buy into it, but the dominants don't know anything about DS relationships, safe kink practices, how to talk to somebody like a basic human being before any sort of kink or scene starts. So I would say if you are looking into submission and wanting to keep yourself safe, then just have a good think before you start approaching people about what your boundaries are. As I've seen a lot of people when they say, "Oh, I don't have any boundaries." It's like, no, you do.
Mm-hmm.
There's boundaries everywhere, whether it's that you don't want certain places on yourself touched or you don't want certain words said. It's not just, beat me until I can't walk. It's do you want to be beaten with a paddle or a flogger? Is a flogger a no-go for you? There's so many nuances and levels. So I'd just say explore the world of kink, explore what there is to offer. Read erotica. It's really good for getting ideas, but do a lot of self-reflection on what you yourself are comfortable with, but also keep open with those boundaries. You may meet somebody that you feel really safe with, that you can explore one thing with, and the next person you want to go and explore that thing with may not be the right person for you, and that's okay to say no. And that's now a boundary of mine. So yeah, just stay fluid, stay open, stay educated, and just eventually you're going to learn really quickly how to sniff out the bullshit amongst everything. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't be scared. I'll just be curiously cautious with
Mm.
strangers on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very well said. Curiously cautious. I love it. Mm-hmm. So I've covered a lot of ground today. Is there anything else that you want to share? Any other topics that you feel that we've missed that you wanted to speak to?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered a fair bit of my kink and sexploration. So,
We have. It's been fascinating. So if you had to sum up your erotic self in one word right now, what would that word be and why?
I would say it would be colorful.
Mm.
Um, it when it's because we're not in a black and white relationship. There's a lot of bi and LGBT stuff that we do. There's a lot of kinks that we do. There's a lot of things that we do that we can't talk to our friends about as well.
Mm.
Um, just because of, you know, it may be too much for their sensitive souls. um, But yeah, it's just very colourful, and there's a lot going on all the time, and it's constantly evolving. So yeah, it's a bit of a spectrum of kink.
Mm-hmm. Lots of colours in there. Well,
Yes.
Jade, thank you for sharing your perspective so openly. And I love how you've shared about your submission, not as weakness, but as something intentional, chosen, and deeply psychological. And thank you for taking us into your erotic realm.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you again. I'm Em, and this has been the Erotic Realm podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Erotic Realm podcast. This is an independent podcast. If you want to see more episodes made, you can support it at psychologyofdesire.com by becoming a paid subscriber and entering the realm with many other supporters. The mission of the Erotic Realm is to humanize kink and desire in all of its forms. And we can't do that without you. Until the next time, stay perverted.